Hello and welcome to LedgerCast. My name is Brian Karsgaard here with the one, the only Josh Olszewicz.
Mr. Brian.
Josh, how you doing, man?
I'm fully engaged. Training gloves on.
Fully engaged.
Fully engaged.
That is a readiness state I wasn't prepared for.
We have charts on my end that are...
Yeah, you did preparation. I'm impressed. I did not.
That's okay.
But you encouraged me to look up some stuff that I want to talk about on the show. We're going to talk about bubbles today because I titled it "Begging for Bubbles."
Well, you mentioned my moving average video, and clearly that just set off.
I just need the price. I need the price to separate from the fast moving averages and the slow moving averages to the upside, of course. We need some bubblicious behavior. And listen, if you're feeling some FOMO, don't worry. You're not alone. You're just like Isaac Newton. We were talking about people who had gotten fleeced in bubbles. And I really enjoyed this one. Even smart people struggle with FOMO. Isaac Newton invests in the South Sea stock, exits with a profit. Then his friends get richer than him. And then he re-enters with a lot of money at the top and then goes broke. I don't know, a year later.
It's almost like the investor sentiment chart or Wall Street cheat sheet or whatever.
It is, except for the whole re-entry component, and he's just like you. So if you're feeling FOMO, don't worry. There'll be other trades. There'll be trades. Take your time.
I was going to ask you this too. What do you think is the most important thing about trading?
Trade management, discipline.
I'd go even more basic. I'd say just make sure you have a seat at the table. There's always another trade.
Don't go broke.
That's part of trade management, right? Don't blow up.
It is. Don't blow up.
Like the Solana stuff, we can talk about Bitcoin in a second, but Solana went to 45 and all you had to do was wait, all you had to do was be patient. And you had your entry. It was, I think it was a great setup. Most of us paying attention caught that. Same thing with Link, right? It was hard to mistrade that. I hope, but I don't know.
We looked at Link for
everybody looked at Link. I thought, and I don't even like the token. Anyway, I don't like Solana either, but that's another conversation. Point is,
I got something.
Point is, there's always another trade. There's always a trade somewhere. Be patient. Pick your battles. Be super choosy and look for specific stuff, right? If you're looking for a fastball, don't swing at a curveball,
Oh, baby.
Speaking of baseball, did you watch the World Series at all?
I did.
I didn't. I saw it was the lowest rated World Series in history.
Dude, what happened to freaking Twitter's pasting URLs onto TradingView? I used to be able to do that. Oh, I have my drawings turned off. There it is.
Classic. Oh yeah.
You knew what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this. I pasted it on here 17 times now. There we go. Do it one more time. There we go. Look at this. I mean, beautiful. I mean, the divergent top. Arthur, what are you doing, man?
Well, I woke up and saw that and I was like, what? I hope he's kidding. I hope he's not just now buying all the way up here.
Sometimes I wonder, did he really buy back here? And then he's just saying this stuff at the top.
I don't know.
He seems too smart for this.
That seems,
but he has a great success of calling tops when he does these types of tweets.
Yeah, that was in the high 40s, wasn't it?
Yeah. This is an hourly chart. It was literally $45.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't make sense to me. So I hope
he's immediately down 20% if that's where he bought.
Hope he's a little joking around with that, but maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, but long term, that entry is probably fine. If you're quote unquote trapped in a spot position, I think you're fine, but you're holding for a while. If you're in a leveraged position, I think you're sweating it a little bit.
If
your entry is 45.
Yeah. The thing is,
tell us what the thing is.
How many days was this? Let's just say from the breakout. You entered the day after to today. 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, Solana traversed this range.
Mhm.
And I've had this range for a long time, this 25 to 50, basically 25 to 47.50. Like that was the old range before FTX blow up. And then it spent a long time below that, on its way to 8. And so it got back in the range and then, floated right back to the top of it. Why would you buy it at the top of that range?
I don't know. I don't think. I really hope that wasn't the case, but maybe he's got a different
But
time horizon.
a lot of people, I'm not just calling out Arthur. A lot of people were feeling FOMO.
I didn't see anybody talk. I haven't really seen anybody on Twitter talking about anything. I don't know if that's just because Twitter's broken or what, but
I feel like a lot of people have been talking about the move that we've had over the past week or so.
I haven't seen anybody saying like sold at 500. I haven't seen any
No,
of that
not
stuff.
sold at 500. It's more like just I told you so type stuff. Maybe you don't follow Z.
Who's that?
He's
I don't know. Just maybe all my friends are liquidated. I don't know.
Ansem. I call him Z.
No, I haven't. I don't know who that is. Sorry.
You're missing out. He's got a good call. He's going off about Coinbase now. Coinbase to 200. His handle's Black Noise 06, but with different spelling.
Okay.
He's a good trader, and he's been early on some of these like loud beliefs of something's going to happen.
We said
maybe he's just been talking about Solana so much that I'm like, everybody's talking about Solana. It's really just Ansem retweeting it like 35 times.
Okay. I mean, we said what? Bitcoin 28K was the level. I don't know if we said it on here, but 25 was the level for Solana.
Mm-hmm.
These are just horizontal levels, right? They're not like anything crazy.
Yeah. I talked about this, I guess, on Bankless. Just like the benefit we have right now is we're neither at all-time lows nor all-time highs. So therefore, there's horizontal levels that you can compare it to, and you can just trade level to level based on daily, weekly closes, whatever floats your boat, and play it that way. If you're like trying to really risk off and take it one trade at a time or whatever, if you're not looking at things with a longer term lens, you can do that. What I would say right now is good buy. Buy the retest at 30K if you get it. That would feel rough for a lot of people, 15% drawdown. But should you, if that occurs, that would be a good entry, right?
I don't know what people are waiting for. I guess you're waiting for like a COVID style drawdown, because what's next in the economy, Like what's it going to take to bring Bitcoin back down is the question. If you're waiting for an entry still,
a little bit of bad news, some kind of regulatory thing. There's plenty of things that can pull you back 15%.
Yeah, we can go to 30.
You mean like we're going to all-time lows type stuff, or not all-time lows, but like multi-year lows?
No, I'm just asking, like, if you haven't allocated or whatever into Bitcoin yet, like, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for a yearly low? Are you waiting for 15K? Like, is that what people are waiting for?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't get in the head of bears. It's hard for me
because it's we got halving in less than 6 months, ETF in less than 6 months. Unless you just assume those things are priced in and or are bearish. I don't know. I don't know what you're waiting for at this point. I'm not saying we won't go lower. I'm just saying, like, what is it going to take?
Yeah. Like if I'm trying to think of. It's hard when these are hypothetical people of who's not deployed or whatever. But what would you be waiting on? You'd be looking for reentry opportunities where you appear to have value. I mean, I don't think there's that. You think there's a lot of people in our ecosystem of active participants that expect like new multi-year lows? Or do you think most people are looking to just accumulate a little cheaper if they're not all the way in right now?
I just haven't seen enough to even gauge what sentiment even is on Twitter, at least. There's macro out the yin yang on Twitter, but I haven't seen too many people discussing crypto targets. I just haven't. Maybe I'm just following the wrong people, but
yeah. Well, thankfully the legacy media is kind of avoiding us right now, at least in terms of price action. They're all focused on Sam getting convicted, which he did. I'm sure everyone's seen this, but SBF was found guilty on all 7 counts of, I don't know, different types of fraud.
Well, that's the thing. You have legacy media saying "I told you so" about Sam. Some of them, and the other half of them.
Meanwhile, Bitcoin's up 100%.
Right. They're saying, "I told you so. Crypto's dead. It's all a Ponzi." And I'm like, "What? What am I looking at? Am I living in a parallel universe? Am I looking at the wrong chart?"
Mhm.
So by the time they wake up to the fact, like, "Oh, Bitcoin's at 50K. Why? What happened? I thought it died." SafeMoon people were arrested. Yeah, good point.
Oh, yeah,
Why?
Lion on a What said SafeMoon guy was arrested yesterday. I saw they brought charges. I didn't realize they arrested anybody, but Josh, I mean, who would have thought you named something Safe Moon, and it turned out they didn't have the best intent.
Well,
Theirs apparently was even, like, quite egregious, so I've heard. I don't know anything about their charges, but, like, it's more than we created a coin and we wanna sell it. It was, like, sneakier. They had more egregious levels of crime they wanted to commit, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, anytime someone, it's like Hex, right? Anytime someone tells you they're going to lock up tokens for X number of years and
Yeah.
give you yield, and no.
Safe Moon.
Can we just remember what happened last cycle and not repeat that this cycle? Can we just all collectively say we're not going to do that shit again, please?
Yeah.
Not your keeps, not your coins. If yields are higher than the risk-free rate in the United States, it's probably not real. Okay. And what else did we learn?
You know what is on the up and up right now?
You tell me.
Crypto books. They're coming out left, right, and center.
Like real books?
Yeah. Like people are interested in the crypto story, the crypto boom and bust. We talked about
well, I think if you're not in it and you don't have a podcast empire like yourself, it's fascinating,
like I have real friends who they've been reading on like the Michael Lewis book, for example, and I kind of roll my eyes at that one. But
Yeah.
a buddy of mine that owns a local bookstore was telling me he kind of liked the number go up. I think is what it's called. Number go up. I think is what that one was called. Said it was pretty good. More of a skeptical lens, but I saw another book. I think it came out like at the same time as the Conviction. And yeah, the outside world is interested in the story, but they are disinterested in the price action. And I find that fascinating. That's a good sign, I feel like, for crypto.
Well, people are still telling them it's for criminals and going to blow up. And I don't know. What I was going to say about Solana relative to SafeMoon, if Solana pops off, they got to dodge some regulatory heat from the SEC or settle or something,
Yeah, and I think that kind of stuff could definitely affect, especially the altcoin landscape, for how aggressive do regulators want to be in terms of who they go after, how they go after them, what's the expectation, even in light of Ripple winning a huge portion of its case. Like that doesn't mean it's a free for all.
No, and it doesn't mean Solana gets a free pass either. Or DeFi, like the UK wants to destroy DeFi, so does the United States. We need stablecoin legislation. We don't have that either.
There's an Elizabeth Warren video going around about basically just like self-custody should be illegal. Was the moral of the story of her video. It's just like,
and the SEC just went after PayPal for their stablecoin.
Yeah, what's that about?
Well, you got to wonder, like, didn't they see that coming? I don't know. I don't know if they launched that thinking like we need to be a part of the conversation. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me, but good for them for fighting the good fight, I guess. Should we talk about the list I made?
Yeah.
So I made this list. It's going to trigger people.
Josh prepared a list. I just usurped it and started talking about random crap.
Trigger warning. Okay.
Okay.
It's talking about politics, religion, and war.
But let's go. I didn't even know those things were on the list. So let's hear it.
I think you have to have flashbang. You have to have some sort of opinion about this stuff because it's related to markets. I think you have to have an opinion. So this week we had
where are we starting?
We'll start with macro because we had a ton of macro stuff. I don't know if we need to like explain all this each little thing here, but the UJ, the Bank of Japan, they stopped their yield curve control mechanism and let UJ weaken further or strengthen further. And potentially that just means they're going to stop selling United States treasuries, potentially. There was also bullish news on the refunding announcement that they weren't adding a bunch of long-term debt. They're going to veer from their historic plans of like 22% short-term and go above that. So that made yields really happy. That made TLT get excited. This was before unemployment, obviously.
You made bonds happy?
Yeah.
Like yields went down, bonds went up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because the narrative before that was, hey, they're going to issue all this debt. It's going to be long term because it has to be, because that's what the historical percentages were, blah, 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 whatever. They're deviating from that. Okay. So that's maybe good short term, but long term, maybe not so much. I don't know. It depends on your viewpoint there. But then we had the Fed come out and say they're not going to raise rates. Rates probably topped for now. Again, that's like reading tea leaves and Rorschach test. There are people saying the Fed can't hike anymore. They're done. The debt's going to go out of control.
You keep reading the list while I show the charts.
Sure, yeah. So 30-year came way down. 10-year came way down. I haven't checked the yield curve.
I'll pick it up in just a minute.
Basically, all this is relevant because of its relation to risk on, risk off sentiment. It's certainly relevant for TLT, but then today we had unemployment, and you got to remember bad news is good news for risk, because risk wants rates to come down. I don't think risk wants a recession, but I think the quicker we get there, the better. If we get there, again, you hear people on both sides of that argument, whether or not this is actually headed for a recession or not. It certainly feels like we are, but unemployment ticked up to 3.9%. Job numbers were 30,000 less than expected, but if you consider the striking numbers, that actually evens out to reaching expected 180K. Anyway, point is, bad news was good news. Dollar's way down, yields are way down, and non-crypto risk markets are up on the news. So kind of a shift. In the very near term, it's a shift. Long term, I think we're still in trouble because of the debt spiral, but high long-term yields have come down. Go ahead.
Lining this up, if people aren't familiar with what's happening on this chart, the yield curve is inverted when it's red, and then the area filled portion is essentially how wide is the spread between the 2 and the 10. So we could be facing a scenario where yields are starting to go down, and then you create you uninvert as yields go down, and start to see the spread widen, and kind of have a steepener effect.
Historically, we get a recession after the uninversion. Yeah. Unemployment also goes up after the inversion.
I mean, this looks. There's a few recessions on here. This chart doesn't go back before 1988, so it's not that useful.
But my whole thing with the recession stuff, like, why are we afraid of that happening? It's
of a recession happening?
Yeah, like it's part of the business cycle. It's like life and death. I
don't know.
It's like we're afraid of talking about death. It's okay.
I think you have to choose recession versus like sustained 8% inflation. Most people would choose recession, or not most people, but like the holistic body would choose recession, because they'll say, I'll be fine. It'll be other people, but I don't want inflation to be that high.
Well, you're either in the camp that we're too restrictive, inflation's already come way down, enough's enough, bring rates back down, or you're in the camp that, hey, we're not to our 2% target yet, PCE is still elevated, CPI is still elevated, all these other metrics still elevated, and unemployment is still quite low. That's the other side of that coin.
Yeah. So you could see ripple effects in the economy lasting a while too. And yet, like, doesn't mean stocks have to go down a whole lot more. You don't have to see stocks totally aligned with the recessionary period.
Right.
Stocks bottomed pretty quickly in the last, the Great Recession. And then even though while the economy was continuing to be weak all the way into 2011, Josh, 2012, there was stocks had been recovering for years by that point. Anyway, this week, and this has a positive impact on business.
Right. But regional banks especially, it's sort of bailing out all those hold to maturity losses, right?
Yes.
TLT, I don't know if you want to pull that one up, but TLT bounced a little bit, but it's still not over. The debt is still insane, and I'll get to that in a second. But we can celebrate this near-term win. You know who's pissed is the macro bears. The macro bears have been calling for a recession since before the beginning of the year. They got more bearish in the past week, and now we're bouncing super hard everywhere. And they just they can't get a W.
Bears rarely do.
I'm talking like David Rosenberg, Jeremy Grantham, the classical bearish, if anybody's familiar with those people, bearish folks. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that was macro this week. I don't think I'm forgetting anything super big or important. Then there's U.S. politics, which we got a Speaker of the House. That's Mike Johnson. Do you know Mike Johnson? Isn't that your person?
No, I don't, but this sounds like the lead into one of those jokes about names.
Well, isn't he from Alabama? I might be wrong, but anyway, he's super duper uber religious, very, 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 very conservative, which will certainly guide what happens in the House. But back to the funding piece, the House passed a bill to fund Israel. There's like this fight on funding Israel, funding Ukraine, the border, Taiwan, Gaza humanitarian aid, all while we're trying to avoid a government shutdown in 2 weeks. So that's the next thing to pay attention to, I guess, with yields, is how the lack of clarity on government funding affects, do we have a government shutdown or not? I don't know. Seems like we might.
Mike Johnson is from Louisiana.
Okay. See, in my mind, those two states are just the same state.
Listen.
So the thing to pay attention to,
if you're trying to think about the bad state corridor down here.
Yeah.
Okay. Generally just put us around 48. All right. Okay. There's always Louisiana and Mississippi. Just saying.
Very true.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, that's fair. So the bottom line there is look, the debt problem hasn't gone away. They're trying to cut spending elsewhere to pass these aid packages. And then there's this other conversation. For some reason, I don't know how this happens, especially lately. Everything is so partisan. It's like we want to fund Ukraine on the left. We want to fund Israel on the right. How is that? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me, but
it's also tiresome.
It is. But in the war theater, we are seeing escalation in Israel and Gaza. We are seeing Hezbollah bringing troops to the border. So there's still massive geopolitical risk.
Is it too early to talk about this, Josh? There's no shoulder whatsoever, but we've had 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a full week. This looks like a giant short squeeze to me. This is day after day of gap and run. I mean, this is like the type of candles up only dreams of.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate, this is the SPY. Yeah. For people listening, I don't hate that. I don't hate the massive cup and handle we're forming.
The massive cup and handle you're talking about.
Zoomed way out.
Weekly.
Yeah. Anyway, point is with the geopolitical stuff, still funding problems. We don't want escalation. It's escalating. It's kind of getting out of control. Ukraine-Russia stuff is still boiling over. There's no resolution anywhere on any of that stuff. And then we have issues in Pakistan and Iran, people getting expelled from those countries in the millions.
You know what the news and markets type stuff combo feels like? It's like you have a bunch of dry leaves and tinder kind of piled up right here. And then you're sitting here with your world events, and you're like got one of those flint scratchers, and you're just like, It's fine as long as one of these, flint scratching sparks doesn't land on that pile of tinder and blow it up. We'll be totally fine and we'll get through this. We just have to do this another 25 times and not have any of them catch fire.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about World War III like it doesn't matter for anything else but markets, but that's what we're here to talk about. So that's what we're talking about.
And that's kind of how it feels to me. Like, it's not a guarantee that there's, some fire catching, but there's a lot of flint grinding going around.
Yeah. And then lastly, just oil. Oil has come way down, which maybe is counterintuitive, but again, that's something that needs to dodge geopolitical stuff.
Joshua, we're getting repeated requests to analyze cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, I know. So I just bring all that up from the
fair warning. We were going to look at a little bit of other stuff, and these do affect crypto markets. I'm going to defend our macro market analysis real quick. These are crypto market cycles in vertical lines, just compared to the dollar, as an example. And if you can predict the dollar regime, it can help you analyze cycles.
Yeah, look, this stuff isn't 1-to-1, obviously. Bad news isn't bad news for crypto all the time, or vice versa. But
even if you look at like crypto this year is up a lot. This line where the dollar topped was the crypto bottom that none of us expected, and yet it happened again. Yeah. When the dollar goes up rapidly, that creates friction.
So I agree. I think the DXY is the most important factor on crypto for sure. I have a chart for that in the near term, but the question is, do we go below 100? Ultimately, that's what we need to know.
That's a long way between now and 100 on the fixed.
Right, but that's where the money's at. The money's at sub 100. We may be topping on the DXY, which is good news.
Yeah,
it's great news.
All right, shall we look at a little Bitcoin and other friends?
Yeah, sure. So that's my BTC. Pitchfork. This is a crowd favorite. Every time I bring that up, I just get people just hooting and hollering at how excited they are.
Yeah, some love it, some cringe at it. But hey, who doesn't love some diagonal channels?
You can just hear them in the comments. They're going wild. The point is, look, there's plenty of room for upside here. I think near term, we need to hold this rising channel that we're holding. But overall, looks fine. Even if we go back to 32, which is the midline, looks fine. 44 is like the be careful territory.
44?
Yeah.
That's per Pitchfork?
44 for what? Per Pitchfork?
Per the Pitchfork, that's where it says be careful.
Oh yeah, that's my own internal. That's where we get overbought on the like Pitchfork bands, if you will.
Yeah. On my chart, I have more of a 47K. Lines up with the prior weekly close. I have it as a bright red line on my chart. You can see it here.
Yeah, I like that. I like the cloud weekly. It's 42. I like whatever the 618 is. I think that's like 47 or something. If we get above 50 and hold, then it's like game on. I just don't think that's going to happen before halving, personally. And we also have to dodge recession stuff as well. So there's a lot to consider, and I think it's easiest just to play it by ear. But yeah, of course, those targets look great.
I'm in I don't have any fear like I need to exit the ecosystem. Like, you know what I mean?
Definitely not.
I feel like you're in trade management territory. You might make like minor swings, minor adjustments to portfolio allocation, to leverage ratios if you carry leverage, to if your standard is to have 30 or 40% in cash, and right now you have 5 or 10% in cash, maybe you start inching towards 15 or 20% in cash. Those types of adjustments, totally fine. But exit all crypto markets, I don't really think so. Not even close.
No, I also don't feel like it's the time to go like max long everywhere.
Mm-mm.
We had a little bit of a move. Everybody got a little bit excited. Solana hit its fib targets. The trend looks fine. Just the near term needs time, you know?
Yeah.
And I think you could probably say that about any chart right now. I don't see any setups generally across the board anywhere.
You don't?
I'm saying in the very near term, like Bitcoin alts, like there's channels, but it's not like slam dunk. Like I know this is going to break up. You know, we're not seeing like inverted head and shoulders anywhere that I'm seeing, or ascending triangles in places. Like ETH has levels to watch, but I don't think there's anything like that's pending super soon. Am I wrong?
I have some stuff I still like. I agree that some things look like they've made a pretty good run already. Like we talked about Link, for example. And remember, these were, I don't remember why we were drawing these. Basically, if it goes down, average on the bottom of the range and then wait for the breakout. You talked about that breakout. Got it.
Well, there's people who either like miss the breakout or are in a trade and like are asking what's next every time. And to me, it's like, what do you mean? We just had almost a 2x on Link, a 2x on Sol. Like, what do you mean? What's next? You know,
that's my point on this one. Is like, I don't know really why you want to enter a trade here, because you do have opportunity for retrace. And personally, I'd be looking at resistance between 1270 and 1270 to $15 seems like potential challenging resistance levels. And so therefore, not that it's bad, but if you're going to trade it, you have to narrow down your time scales here. You got to be trading 4-hour charts, 1-hour charts, things like that. And that's a little harder. I don't have as much conviction as I have on a weekly chart where I would have entered the trade earlier. And it already broke out on that weekly time frame. So you just got to know what you're trading if you're going to do that.
Right. It's about time horizon. It's about size, leverage, multi-cycle or multi-month, whatever. I think we're fine. I still like Link to 30. I still like Sol to 140. Not next month, not maybe 2 months, maybe 6 months, you know?
There were some interesting outliers this week. Did you notice, for example, Sushi?
I saw you mention that. I forgot to look at it.
I was looking at it before it broke out. Didn't buy it. I don't have any meaningful exposure to Sushi. Just pointing it out. Crazy weekly. Like crazy. It went up like 50% one day. I don't really know how you capture that stuff. But if you go find one and then you capture it, like, okay, great. Let's say you doubled your money on Sushi. Maybe that was a good trade and you just count your blessings. Carry on.
For me, if I'm deeply down the market cap list and I make an insane trade like that, I'm taking profit 100%, just rotating into ETH, rotating into Bitcoin, anything else that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. Arbitrum has had 3 great weeks. It was at 80 cents. It's only up about 20%, but 3 really strong weeks. Requested in the chat there. I'm going to take a random ticker that somebody sends me. I'm going to say, hey, here's what I would do. Okay.
Yeah.
Josh, do you know what I would do here? What would I do, Josh?
I don't know. You tell me.
Okay. Josh doesn't want to ask me what I would do.
I've got my own.
He doesn't want to take
crowding my opinion of your opinion.
I would be looking for this to be trying to break above this 200-day moving average, which is also the daily highs of the past couple days. There's probably a nice little consolidation here. And if I was getting some pressure on low time frames, let's see what that 200-day moving average was, 106. So if you see consolidation in this 106 territory, maybe I'd take that trade. But it probably needs to spend a little more time in it, you know, this kind of thing. If it's hitting the ceiling somewhere below that, like that, then I might make an anticipatory trade and buy 102, 103, expecting for it to be able to break above that 200-day moving average and shift its broader trend. That's how I would look at that one.
I saw some news about ARB doing staking or something.
I don't know. I got a significant position in some stuff. I have no idea what their fundamental stuff is doing.
Of course not. But I'm just saying, like, why are they moving? Why are they moving today? That stuff
I
like
did.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a Solana conference going on, and apparently it's like the first bullish conference of all time. Did you
I
know
didn't
there's a
know.
Solana conference going on?
No, I did not.
It,
For this,
it pumped the entire conference.
oh, see, I didn't even know.
Me neither.
Didn't need to know though. If you know TA, you know to get in at 25. That's my argument for everything.
I want to address a question by Andre in the chat. He says, I'm looking at the chat right now. What are you talking about? I'm not seeing the question that you're seeing. That's because there's people on YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah, we are simulcast. What I was going to say about the ARB chart is there are a lot of alts that look like that. They have this W double bottom characteristic.
Yeah.
And what I would say is, like, do you think this is a cyclical bottom or not? And you can enter position, put your stop loss at new lows, and just forget about it. You know, that's my style of trading, where it's just, yeah, let it go, let it run. You know,
Josh is basically like
this could go to 5.
Josh is like, here's my trade.
If this goes to 5 in a year, are you going to be angry at yourself for exiting at 120 or something? You know,
the answer is yes, I would, and I would do that, and I've done that before, and I'll do it again. I don't know why. I just do. I just do.
That's fine. It is what it is based on who you are and what you're doing. But for me, I'd rather look at this stuff and set alerts, look at levels, and just forget about it. I would rather massage like the higher at market cap coins with leverage than worry about like what ARB's doing on leverage.
See, I must feel entirely differently. Literally the opposite.
Well, that's what makes markets.
Yeah,
Brian.
I'm much more willing to trade like these random 4-hour breakouts that could have like a 20% or 30% upside on alts, and then just chill for majors.
That's okay too.
But I don't leverage trade majors, so that's probably a big part of that.
Yeah. See, I would rather pay attention to the BTC pairs and leverage trade the USD pairs. Can we talk about ETH for a second? Because ETH's kind of stuck in the mud. What's going
on? It's just shaking out the non-believers.
Yeah. It's really taking its sweet all time.
I can't even say that with a serious face.
My point for ETH currently, the trade setup is like, look, all this stuff around it has pumped and ETH has just sat here. It's either a dead coin or people are going to start rotating eventually. You know,
bullish sitting there.
Bullish sitting there.
It's like Ferdinand the Bull, just chilling.
I think it's still a viable setup. It looks okay as long as the rest of the market looks okay. You know, I think at one point ETH will catch up to everything else, but until it's above 1990, what else is there to do? You just wait, you know?
I think ETH BTC is set a temporary bottom.
I think ETH could still go to 3K with ETH BTC going lower. How about them apples?
How about it? It's possible.
Yeah. But look, if you're just trading the setups, it doesn't really matter where ETH BTC goes if you catch a leverage trade. That's my argument anyway. Yeah. Like if you catch an ETH USD long with BTC collateral, you know, who cares what ETH BTC is at, right? I'd rather trade this than ETH BTC.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's at the bottom of a range. It's it doesn't look great. It doesn't even look good. But I do think that there's a decent chance because, as you point out, the ETH USD setup is not terrible. It's at the bottom of the range on ETH BTC, and that could lead to a breakout that establishes a range bottom on a relative basis to Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I think it could have a crazy weekly, just like Solana, just like all these other charts. Isn't Sifu like massively short still?
I don't know. I hope so, because I'd like him to be liquidated. That's not very nice of me, but
it's not. But I'm not going to disagree. All of my TA, all of the gods and all of the heavens and the hells and everywhere points to 3K ETH.
I don't seek the demise of others. So I apologize for that. However, I don't think he's a very good actor.
That was a very dark place you brought us all to there for a second.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so 3K ETH eventually.
Just break through that cloud, walk up it, off we go. Next.
Yeah, I mean, we may not. ETH may wait until like February 2024 to actually move. I don't know. But I think it's a pretty slam dunk eventually when it gets there. At this point, it didn't break down and it looked like it was going to.
Yeah, you have to be comfortable with your own timing for that trade.
Yeah.
I currently own a little bit of something that I'm not comfortable with on a relative position. You want me to share it? I'm not shilling it. I'm not telling anyone else to buy it. I just like this consolidation on synthetics.
I brought this up a couple weeks ago.
I know you did, and then I bought it.
Because that ties into Aave and Maker as well.
It does, except for Aave broke out and synthetics didn't.
Right, but
and I'm thankful for that. I hold that too. But
the point is, from a fractal perspective, to me it's the same chart. I don't know if it'll break up. I don't know if it'll act the same, but they all look the same to me chart wise.
I like these types of setups, even if sometimes it's a little painful while they're doing their thing. When you get that weekly consolidation, and then
is your target 6 1/4, whatever that is up there? Is that why that line's up there?
No.
Okay.
That line is from a very long time ago.
Damn, he's going for that moonshot. But it looks good. It's held its lows. It's made higher lows.
Yeah, sure, that line was based on a previous daily chart. If I was gonna set a target for this, it would probably be more like this territory, 350.
That's nothing.
I know.
You're gonna take the risk for a 15% move?
That's not a 15% move.
All right, well, let's measure it then.
Don't you math?
Let's measure it then.
That's a 50% move.
No, it doesn't look like a 50% move on my screen.
230, 235 to 355 is a 51% move.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're saying enter here. Okay. I was saying like the next high, which is like 3 to 305.
Oh, no. I don't.
You're saying you're already in
breakouts, Josh. I am the breakout.
Right. Okay. I am the one who breaks out. I am the one who breaks out.
I like to buy the consolidations. I don't know why. I have a hard time buying that like turbo green candle.
Well, I think that's fair if everything else is breaking up. You know, it's the same rationale for ETH. Everything else is breaking up around it. Eventually, logic says it probably will get rotated into at some point. You know?
Yeah, although that rotation trade, I missed that one. Let me get this one. Like, there is a really good argument for not taking the laggard, just taking the one that's already doing things.
Yeah, would you rather buy Solana at 45 or SNX at 235?
Solana at 45.
Right.
Or SNX at 235.
Right. Basically, I'm asking you, there are two wolves inside of you, Arthur Hayes and yourself.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable. I took synthetics in that exact scenario.
Yeah.
That said, should you get a consolidation on Solana and now you have two consolidation trades, a weekly consolidation trade on synthetics that had weeks of like general bullish sentiment in the markets and didn't break out, or say like a 4-hour consolidation chart on Solana, and I've got fresh capital, I'm ready to deploy or redeploy or whatever. In that scenario, I think there's a very good reason to take Solana instead of synthetics. Synthetics is being concrete, and Solana is doing bullish consolidation on medium time frame and moving very nicely on high time frame. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically talking about like the BTC chart right now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and in fact, if I get like too convinced that synthetics will keep consolidating, and yet BTC or Solana or something that's been on a greater move is consolidating and looks poised for breakout, I don't mind changing my mind. Even if it's just for a couple days. Like, just like, boom, I'm going to go catch that consolidation. I got this other thing will probably be here. If I miss it, I miss it.
That's I'm the opposite. Once I'm like, you know what, I think this is going to go up, I'm just going to hold it. You know, I've already like mentally allocated the capital into Aave, for example. So like that's Aave's money now. You know, like
Josh, I really expected you to trade more frequently when you're wearing your trading gloves.
I do. I prefer the leverage over like the spot stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, but this really needs to hold for BTC and ETH. Like we talked about in the pre-show, the weekly Bitcoin candle is pretty ugly.
Yeah, but it could just be low time frame consolidation, like we mentioned.
Yeah. No, it doesn't mean it's over. It just means, you know,
It's Jover.
we're chilling for now. As an example,
GBTC. Wow.
well, it's an example that we'd want to see. You know, we had a massive wick last week, and now this week we're trying to close above that. So that's what we want to see.
I did notice. Is it ETH that's also doing well?
ETH is doing okay.
And
ETH might be the better trade relative to ETH. There's a huge spot ETH. There's a huge unfilled gap at what is that, 18 on ETH. There's still like a 20% discount on ETH. I don't know.
Let's do a little discount analysis.
Something to consider. The discounts are closing.
Yeah, it's all the way down to 19%, 19.45% for ETH. And then on GBTC, it is a mere 13.5%. And at this point, I think it's worth mentioning, Lynn Alden has talked about this with more typical discounts for structured products, even though GBTC and ETH carried a premium for a number of years, which ended up being one of many things that broke some hedge funds. The typical thing for a structured product like this is to carry maybe like a 7 to 10% discount. So it's not that far off of what you would expect for such a product. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think the discount closing trade is ending on GBTC.
Mm-hmm.
Now GBTC, the upside potential for me is that going to move once the ETF gets announced? You know, I think
you're balancing that against like investigations into Barry and his corporations and, you know, whatever else. If there's any risk from that, I don't know, but I don't like the sound of all that stuff.
Yeah, I want to be out of my GBTC position the day the ETF's announced.
Yeah. I think there's basically no singular product that the regulators should be better protecting than this product. There is a lot of retail money in there. There's a lot of inefficient money in there that's getting this discount that doesn't deserve it.
I agree. The fees are insane. They're playing this this game where they want this ETF, but if they actually get the ETF, then they're not going to compete with BlackRock. And if it's an open product, all that BTC is probably going to get pulled, I'd imagine, if their fees are higher. But so I like the ETH GBTC trade switcheroo, you know. If when the ETF is announced, GBTC gets a pop to like 32, I like rotating some of that into ETH. I'm assuming ETH is going to move on that too, but if you just look up the ETH BTC version of ETH GBTC, that's a lot of letters.
That was a lot of letters.
ETH GBTC as a pair. I don't see a signal here on this chart, but there might be one. I don't know. To me, it's just ranging. I don't think there's like any definitive TA. ETH looks weak relative to GBTC. You know, you could say, well, maybe there's this double top at the bottom of the range, which isn't bullish. You know, you could go on and on and on. Just something to consider, and that I'm considering, you know, how am I going to actually manage that position and trade?
Can I mention one random traditional markets thing that's going on today that I find interesting?
Sure.
Gold is still looking really good, roughly at the highs. But gold miners are on the move finally. which has not been the case as gold has shown strength recently.
Yeah, I don't understand that relationship, but that does remind me. A while back when COVID happened, we were talking about stuff to allocate into. One of them was Berkshire Hathaway, and I finally sold that position a couple weeks ago for 100. It was 100% move. So
100% move on one of the safest investments in the world.
That's well, I mean that was you. That was who got me into that. So thank you for that. That was a great trade.
Josh is not trying to brag, but he bought, a whole share of Class A stock.
I think it was.
I think that's like $500 million. So
no, it was B. It was Berk B.
Berk B.
Yeah.
I don't know what Josh actually bought. I'm just standing in for him here.
No, it was Berk B.
You don't wear the trading gloves without trading Class A stock for Berkshire Hathaway.
Oh, okay. I feel like it's the opposite, right? If you're wearing trading gloves, you're probably trading Berk.
But yeah, I continue to think, and I'm going to compare this. This gold chart looks amazing. The monthly, weekly gold, spot gold looks amazing, and miners are starting to move. And one extra thing, combine this with people start to believe that rates have topped. I think you're setting the stage for a real breakout here. I also think that will positively impact Bitcoin. Why bring it up?
If I can fix my chart, there's this relationship.
I think you can basically just trade Bitcoin or silver kind of as high beta trades of this, but I'm very, very excited about this potential here.
There's this relationship between real rates and gold. And I have this, hold on, let me see if I can fix this quickly. TLDR, real rates up, gold should go down, right?
Yes.
Why does this look so wonky all of a sudden?
And in reality, gold, it looks good to me. Gold's just gone sideways.
Well, this looks correct. So I have gold inverted and in real rates not inverted. The point is there's a massive gap here. So if real rates come down, does gold go higher?
Yes.
You'd think. And I think that's why gold is up a little bit today. But there's a alligator whatever here, right? Something else yield related to pay attention to, because I know a lot of people are keyed into this $2,000 level on gold. So
I love this chart. Love it. I think it's ridiculously strong.
And you're right. A positive gold price is good for Bitcoin, for sure.
Yeah.
So
you don't have to trade gold to care.
No.
Like you could just hold BTC as a probably higher beta version of this. I think Peter Brandt was talking about how this is something like the third highest monthly close ever, all of which are in this consolidation of multi-year basis. Mm-hmm. And this just looks like it wants to just go bananas to me. Bananas.
Yeah, it's a good sign.
One of the most manipulated markets in the world, so maybe it doesn't move as fast as the chart indicates that it may. But looks pretty good.
It moves very slow, so you got to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, the consolidation here started in 2020, so that's 3 years of not making new highs while printing tons and tons of money worldwide. But given rates were also increasing for 2 of those 3 years, then maybe it's stronger than it looks. But I like.
So I guess the takeaways are yields are coming down, but for how long? Geopolitical stuff still not going away. Inflation's not going away. It's just on to the next month here. Roll along.
I think rates stay elevated, but I don't think they have that much higher to go. Even if they do go a little bit higher, I don't think that any of that's going to last significantly.
I don't think they can consciously raise rates again. You could argue that they should, but I don't think they can.
There's already evidence of a softening economy, so what's the point?
Yeah.
Not to mention the debt service load that it creates for the U.S. itself.
But that's not the Fed's problem at the end of the day, right? It's our problem as citizens of the United States. It's not the Fed's problem.
When Volcker did his thing, though, we didn't have the same debt to care about.
Right.
I think we talked about that last week. I've talked about that at some point recently. Overall, I think this sets up pretty well for crypto. I feel pretty good about crypto, other than people are still getting sued left and right or whatever.
Well, I don't think you could write a better script for Bitcoin
right.
that we have now. You could
I
not
think
line it up.
There's more inherent governmental risks to other coins, but I feel like the script is well written for Bitcoin at the moment.
Yes. I agree.
Shall we leave it there?
I think so. I think that's it.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you, I was telling Josh a little bit earlier, but I've been watching a couple of his TA videos. He's been doing a lot of refreshers on some videos he did years ago, but new versions, nicely done. I watched one on moving averages recently because that's one of my favorite tools. And you've been doing a great job. So go follow Josh at Carpe Noctem on YouTube.
One last thing. Do you remember the EMA MA cross or SMA EMA cross?
Do I remember you talking about it? Yeah. How you
not in the video, but just generally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember who brought that up first, but that's like a super old thing that somebody was, I think it was the 100.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's all sorts of fun crosses out there that have signal for Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're staring at one of my favorite here with the 2200 kind of expansion. The fast ones start to expand out from the slow one. Price relative to both above. All good right there.
Yeah, I mean, sentiment wise, I don't see the bullishness that I think we should be feeling right now, which you could argue is a great, but I think this is turbo bull personally.
Technically speaking, daily and weekly, we are in a bull market.
There you go.
According to these moving averages.
I'll take it.
All right. Appreciate y'all. Click like and subscribe. And sorry to the audio listeners. I didn't post last week's on audio. I will this week. Bye.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight I can barely breathe. Oh, the chains, oh,